welcome to a brand new episode of our very own podcast, Let's Talk Shop, where we get to have a special one-on-one interaction with the creme de la creme of the industry. I, Anshika Gupta, your host for today, and we are in conversation with Ms. Disha Shah, an art enthusiast who believes in sustainability and slow fashion. She has been practicing natural dyeing on textiles and specializes in indigo. We are really delighted to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
So, ma'am, my first question for you would be, what made you choose natural dyeing particularly?
Okay. So, since my college days, I've always been into the subject of dyeing and printing, and I've always inclined towards the Indian crafts and Indian textiles. And most of the Indian textiles and crafts, the artisans work with a lot of dyeing process on their own, the printing process on their own, and I was always very much fascinated with that, but I never really thought that I could take that particular subject ahead in my life. And I think 2 years back I got introduced to a course where I learned about natural dyeing and specifically the natural indigo. And I think since then there's no looking back, and I've fallen in love with the process of natural dyeing.
Okay. Natural dyeing are extracted from natural resources.
Yeah.
So, we would like to know more about natural dyeing.
So, natural dyes comes from the roots, barks, fruits, or nuts or flowers of a tree. So, you can extract pigments from all these substances, and it also comes from minerals and insects. So these are the common sources from where you can get natural dyes.
We have a wide color palette when it comes to synthetic dyeing. So, do we have some limitations when it comes to natural dyeing in terms of color variations?
So there aren't really limitations, but if we definitely compare two of them, so of course there's a huge palette when we talk about synthetic dyes. In natural dyes also, as I said before, as many plant species we have on earth, that many shades and hues and colors are possible. It's just that the kind of bright and the kind of variations in each shade you expect from the synthetic dyes, of course those are not really possible in the natural dyes. So yeah, if you look at with a different perspective, there aren't really limitations, but if you are expecting something like synthetic dyes from natural dyes, then definitely
Yes.
there are.
We have been talking about sustainability time and again, and the sustainability story about natural dyeing is compelling. So, how are they better than the synthetic dyeing?
Okay, so if we talk about synthetic dyes, the use of synthetic dyes in the textile industry is massive, like really massive, and it has polluted our drinking water, our rivers, like anything, and it will take just few years and we would be left with no drinking water. Most of the water is already contaminated, and we are just recycling it and using it, which kills all the life within the water. So using the natural dyes instead of synthetic dyes, it won't make a huge difference, but I think taking the small steps also matters a lot. So yeah, I think using this things from nature and giving it back is a good alternative.
Yes. And how do you think we can make this dyeing process more sustainable?
So when we talk about dyeing process, be it synthetic dyeing or natural dyeing, there's a process, and where there's a process, I don't think there's any space for sustainability. So we are using water in synthetic dyeing, we are using water in natural dyeing. To make it sustainable, you can make it sustainable when you actually start building water plants to recycle whatever water you are using, be it synthetic dyes or natural dyes. So I think recycling the water that you're using for dyeing is the idea of sustainability and not just doing natural dyeing.
And how is the natural dyeing affecting the textile industry?
So the synthetic dyeing industry has done such a large scale damage to our water bodies that the natural dyeing things are coming in front, like people are adopting it now, because after few years, in any which ways government is going to ban it, because they'll have to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
Because again we won't have the drinking water, because everything is going to be contaminated. So yeah, there's a shift in the textile industry. They're shifting towards natural dyeing. So the water used for natural dyeing is much more easier to recycle also. So I think, and also it's much slower process. So it's better that we slow down now. Yeah.
So now that you have said it all, I'm really curious to know that how we beginners can go in for organic dyeing.
All right. So actually, natural dyeing really takes years for people to master the colors.
Yeah.
But there are some really simple recipes that are really fun and the beginners can try. One of them is eco printing, like really printing with the things you find in your surrounding, like the petals of flowers and leaves. Those are some really fun things that you can do. And then there are some kitchen waste and some garden waste, flower waste that you can dye with, like for say yellow from marigolds, some browns from onion peels. Those are the easiest colors that you can get. And believe me, it's a really fun process, and it's really exciting to see, dye your own garments and see the color turn up. So yeah, those are some things that you can try on your own.
It sounds really interesting. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time for this podcast and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.
If you want to see more design driven content like this, do follow us on YouTube and make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future updates. For more updates about upcoming workshops and events, make sure you follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. Until then, this is me, Anshika Gupta, signing off.